It's an electronic pulse that's coming from an external factor. So originally, so that's another way a lot of us in this community have won the lottery, whatever, because they use this form of hearing and control to tell us play number 2, 3, 5, whatever the numbers are. Go to this Circle K right here, and they'll like zap you until you go play these numbers at the lottery. You're gonna get a 60K or whatever it may be dumped into your account. Money randomly dumps into your account because we're hacked all the way. So they can come and do this electronic rape and all of that stuff, like while you're in the shower. Even in the document, they're going to mention the shower a lot, and you'll hear anybody I talk to is like, I can't shower because this couple, especially the woman, they like to sexually assault you while you're showering. And I'm like, this woman she's the most disgusting human being ever. Like, you can even, they're like kind of zipping and zapping at my feet. Nobody's ever exposed her. Nobody's ever exposed her as being a pedophile. So a pedophile, a stalker, a rapist, a sadist, a big one, just the most disgusting stuff you guys have ever heard of in your life. Like, she likes to literally, like, I'll get to it later, but just really horrible things. It's if you read through the document, they actually refer to what she does as female genital mutilation. Not only to me, but she's also, I'm aware she's done it to a lot of the men. So when they said that I was going to win all the lottery and all the money in the world and everything, and fame and everything, they had to up it because they were aware either way I was going to expose it. So they're like, how does she even know about this stuff? Whatever. And I'll get to that another day. But basically, at the end of the day, when I say I was threatening to de-shield everybody, if everybody in this world had to walk around right now with like a little barometric pressure reading thing around their neck, you would find that there's some people walking this earth, and it's fine. I may very well even be one of them because I'm aware I've had this for a while, but we can't go very long without getting our shield turned on and then pressurizing us, because we've been under this type of radio activation, this different frequency and stuff like that. Our bodies have been adjusted, we've been regulated, we've been on basically, our neurological system has basically been connected for a very long time to a computer board. We've all been neurologically mapped out, so they have to like pressurize our bodies differently. There's some people from this community that have had their DNA tampered with. I may have, I'm not all the way sure. So that goes into like a whole other thing. But the purpose of the electronic torture is known to alter the human's mind behavior without authorization. I think I went through this already. So the electronic torture perpetrators intentionally select survivors of abuse. So if you're a survivor of abuse, if you're alone a lot, and not just that, they don't just select survivors of abuse. You don't have to be abused. You can be very beautiful, and they're going to select you. You can be very famous, and they're going to select you. Like, they do all kinds of stuff. So, through the process of which electronic torture, the organized slander and defamation of character is often used on the victim's person and provides hardships to the victim's lives. Electronic torture wreaks havoc on the victims and their families. It causes families to dysfunction and isolate victims or persons from their loved ones, which cause separation of the family, divorces, terrorizations of the loved ones, and recurring emotional hardships. Electronic torture produces financial hardships and unpredictable medical expenses. My paper got wet, so excuse me. I still like, everybody likes to do a lot of things like all digitalized. I still like paper and pen. Okay, electronic torture is an invasion of privacy, and is considered crimes against humanity and is mass genocide. So why is it mass genocide? Like, imagine somebody having access to your brain files or your little brain waves through this electronic torture, through different like electronic devices, whether that be a camera, a satellite, your phone, your laptop, your microwave. You have to look into microwave weaponry. They can follow you around all day with it, and when you don't listen, they electrocute you because they're always watching you, so you're getting hit with the pulse. So Like even I'll just use Sage's dad for instance. So whenever he calls me, whenever he texts me, he immediately start electrocuting me. They'll immediately start like talking and electrocuting my brain. Or I'll be getting like sexually assaulted, and it'll be the woman like, we're tired of him. Da 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 da. They can like put a knife inside of your vagina. They do disgusting stuff. So stuff like that. It can affect victims, person's computer by hacking computers, laptops, tablets, cellular devices, landlines, and alter social media accounts. Put an individual's lives or others into danger by using electronic devices, non-lethal weapon systems, electronic weapons, IR sensors, and RFID. Electronic torture has had a detrimental effect on society, and the use of weapons and electronic devices can alter and manipulate voter fraud and manipulation, mental health crises, and still the victims of personal intellect property by the use of electronic devices. The electronic torturers can break into a victim's home, vandalize, steal, destroy the victim's personal property. It can inflict pain to animals, your pets, through the use of non-lethal weapons, electronic devices, radio frequency identification, which is what I've talked a lot about. I was like, they're using a radio signal basically to intercept my electromagnetic field around me. It's like a 10-foot span, and I was like, most women don't study DARPA. I know it as the aura. So I'm like, like I said, I don't know how to change a tire. I'm not anything. I've been given a lot of hints, subliminal hints. And I've also been hit with the program, which I'll be discuss another time. So that's why I kind of know what this stuff is. Chips and electronic devices. As I stated, chips. You'll see a lot of these perpetrators, like him and his wife, they're older, they were born human, they actually entered like a program, secret program, which is what they were trying to have me enter or whatever, and or they did it illegally, they illegally got chipped. Like him and his wife, I'm pretty sure, actually have an implanted chip, and that's how they connect and do their server stuff, because we don't necessarily need a phone, which is another thing I'll have to get into, to log onto the internet when we have that other the barometric field, the other field of pressure up around us. That's like our interface. So, you know, like all the cool sci-fi stuff, you see your Instagram that you can just touch here, and like be reading and stuff like that. It's because they're already logged on or whatever. So you have to, like, somebody like her, you'll notice they never sleep. They're older when they have the chip. I feel like they're older, but somebody like me doesn't really require the chip. Through different forms of technology, planes, drones, aerial and vehicle units, BCIs, which is all I've been talking about, is a brain-computer interface system. So they have to check for BCI boards. HCI, AI, augmented reality, AR, VR, holograms, which is how I said they hologram into my house. It's not a body of light. I was like, let's couple holograms into my house. It's a pressurized hologram that they can come in and they pressurize the field around me so that only me and them can see it, and we're literally able to have full-blown sex with with his hologram and her hologram, which I said it sounds cool, right? But it's not cool when it's a pervert or a creep and they're stalking you with it. It's fine if you want to do it with whoever. Because I'm, like I said, I'm aware I'm not the only person that's done it, whatever. I'm so embarrassed, but I was like, it's consensual, you know what I mean? I was like, hey, that's not rape, that's somebody that you would have sex with, whatever. This couple is full-blown on harassing people. So holograms, projections, wireless communication. You will hear me, Bluetooth. I was like, the reason why I can't block them out, everybody's like Faraday cage, or, you know, block from Wi-Fi signal and cell phones. I was like, because it's not Wi-Fi, it's Bluetooth connection. When you guys study Bluetooth connection, what you will find is that most Bluetooth connection is ran on GPS navigation systems, like they're ran with GPS navigation systems. So you'll notice when you're driving, even when there's no cellular signal, you still are getting the signal, turn left, turn right, because that's a Bluetooth connection. So he's running and operating his device on Bluetooth connection, which is a lot harder to try to break out of and block, because a lot of like heart monitors, brain monitors, a lot of like medical machinery is ran on Bluetooth connection. So in case the wireless knocks out, there's the backup or whatever. You will also find with the Bluetooth connection, the connection to like cryptocurrency and stuff like that. So that's a whole other thing. VHF, radio towers, radio frequencies, scalar waves, sonic energy, solar energy, lasers through use of telecommunications in the forms of waves, beams, pulses, streams, signals, and directional antenna systems. All of the stuff I've been talking about that people literally, everybody was like, do you just think you're smarter than everybody? I'm like, no. I was like, the only reason why is because I'm familiar with this verbiage. This isn't the first time that I've heard it. So even when all of this story ties together, you guys are going to see I was already programmed to reverse it. So and I'm like, that's going to tie into a whole other thing. And I was like, and it wasn't necessarily a bad thing, because I'm like, hey, it's just a whole thing. But anyways, the criminals are using different technology with computers, networks, virtual machines, smart and interactive hub systems, cloud services, virtualization systems, wireless technology, mobile virtual operating networks, cryptocurrency, Bitcoin, remote access to all forms of the victim's electronic devices, communications, and electronic transactions. With help from law enforcement, technology software, firearm management, control systems, broadcasting systems, remote online access, criminals can access the network using radio frequencies and attack the victim. Do you guys know how hard it is to protect yourself from a radio frequency? I didn't even know what a Faraday cage was. Most people don't know what a Faraday cage was. That's why I was like, hey, this is such an unfair fight. Everybody's being taught about the AI and robots and all this cool, what Elon Musk's robots are going to do, how they're going to take over the planet and over us, and there's going to be a merge eventually with everybody, right? But nobody knows how to shield from radio waves, especially somebody like me. I was like, what the heck? This is like an unfair fight. Women don't know about radio waves. They don't know about electromagnetic fields. We don't know about Faraday cages. You can go up to a kid, they can tell you how to hook up onto that iPad and onto your cell phone, but they can't tell you how to protect the radio waves, how to protect from the radio waves that are powering that stuff in case something goes wrong and they get hacked. No one even can even imagine a sound or an internet wave or a being getting hacked. I was like, no one's taught like that. So I was like, this is all unfair. I was just very upset about everything. I was like, this is a total unfair fight for humanity. So when I was offered all this money, all of this fame, everything that you guys can imagine, I literally got my ass kicked, damn near killed, my heart stopped, all kinds of stuff, lost my job. That's a whole story for a whole other day. I'm like, it even says in this law, if you're a healthcare provider and someone has ever reported this to you and you didn't go report it, you're subject to lose your license. I don't even want to get into how many female healthcare providers I actually worked with. The dean of my school. I'm fired. She literally came into my office. I have it all recorded, where she's talking about I had to delete a video of people being chipped, and I was like, little did she know, I'm like, I'm telling you, I'm getting controlled, I'm getting electrocuted, and if you think people ain't chipped, why the fuck are people checking for the goddamn chip? It's here, an illegal police file that you can easily go obtain off of the internet. I'm like, like I said, it was psychosis. They're actually, if you read through this device, anybody who dismissed me, anybody who did anything and didn't properly check me, even the police. That's why I was like, hey, I'm aware I'm being followed, right? So everything that has ever happened to me, the police, my job, friends, family, messages, you don't even want me to show you guys some of the messages my friends, or I can't, the people that I love close enough, this setup and stuff that what I was being accused of, or what they were saying, I was like, even though I was sitting here telling the truth, it'd be like, can you educate yourself? Can you guys properly educate yourself before I am completely poo-pooed off, wanted to be thrown into a psychiatric ward or anything like that? No, I was totally brushed off. But if you are a healthcare provider and you ever dismiss me, I'm like, I have a lot of it recorded. It just leaves you up to be sued for everything that you've ever had to be taken from you. I was like, I don't even want to show you the stupid write-ups for my job. it's ridiculous. It is the sickest stuff what I've had to go through. It's actually really sad. But basically, at the end of the day, I didn't want to take it because I didn't find this to be beneficial to the world. At the end of the day, I didn't find it to be very beneficial to humanity, how the world was going to progress. My children need to be taught about the Faraday cage law. Every country, not just America, everybody, I was like, every hospital is going to need to be, there's going to have to be some sort of Faraday cage room space built in. Like, that's the type of stuff I was thinking about. So I was like, before everybody comes and thinks I just wanted to outsmart or be a brat, it was none of that. I was like, hey, we're going to need blankets. There's going to need to be like some sort of like internal vaginal devices that they place in us so you can see when we're getting operated. They even do it to our throat. Not only for the vagina, for every entry or whatever of the body. But, so that's the type of stuff that I was thinking about. And that's what's gotten me into so much trouble. And that I was like, the forgiveness, I'm already over it. But I was like, unfortunately, I do think that there's going to be a lot of consequences that come from this. Electronic torture is an invasion of privacy and considered crimes against humanity and is mass genocide. So I talked about that. The software, the radio frequencies. Actually, what's really sad is if you look at like the bandwidth or like what, like the spectrum that needs to be covered to protect everybody from radio frequencies, people like me or whatever like that, it's very, very, very wide. It's not even constructed yet, and that's done purposely. I believe, at least, it's done purposely. And I do believe that it can actually be constructed. I've never built anything before, but I might just actually build a Faraday cage. In order to secure exemptions surrounding organized violence, torture organizations, there can be new laws, basically, that can be, they're talking about organized stalking, so also you're able to stalk people with this. It's a whole thing. I'm getting stalked. An electronic weapon means a device or a lethal non-weapon from which an electrical current can be sent. So a lot of the times what you guys will notice he promotes and markets are these medallions. These medallions were taught in the community, you can't get them wet. If you listen to the show or whatever, you can't get them wet. They work within a 10-foot radius span, and we're also taught that him and his wife are angels and that they're allowed to follow us around. You'll always have an angel following you around everywhere. We'll help control your dreams and we'll help guide you through light. That's all code for voyeurism, which is in my police reports. But, okay. An electronic weapons means a device or a non-lethal weapon from which an electrical current pulses, beams, waves, signal, or sound wave that is directed and whose current pulse, beam, or wave or sound wave is designed to incapacitate, injure, assault, rape, or murder the person or persons. They've taken my eyesight while I've driven. I was like, how is this not assault with a deadly weapon? I was like, that's attempted murder. And him and his wife behind the scenes when they did that, they're like, you'll lose your eyes. Eyes, we call it eyes. They took her eyes while I'm driving. They've done it like 2 or 3 times. They've hit me with electricity so hard. She likes to electrocute me when I'm in my car to stop my heart. They're able to murder us with it because they can shut our lungs down. They can shut your lungs down with it. They can shut your heart down. They can do what they can do with this is so horrific. I was like, I honestly don't think I really want anything to do with it. That's why I was like, I would rather build a shield I would rather people learn how to build these shields and stuff like that. Even to know, like, hey, if the robot or whatever like that came after you, one of these robots or these cars wanted to take you over, literally all you'd have to do is like, there's like a code or a reversal code. I don't know if you just have to say it or you'd have to like cover yourself or beam it at. I don't know. But I was like, I'm aware that there's some sort of Faraday shield that can be built. Let's see. Implanting any form of an electrical device or using any form of a sound wave. So they're already talking about implants. So they can chip your phone, they can chip your car, they can chip you. Another thing, laws for legislation are offenses related to the act of eavesdropping on that person using a form of electronic devices that produce a wave, a beam, a signal, sound, or tone. Any electronical tracking of the device to determine a location. A lot of the times you'll hear me tell people I can't share my location, like they have it locked on some way. Even in my Instagram is different than everybody else's. They can like delete a picture from my Instagram. Even if I block somebody, they can still send me a message. Like even if I go block somebody, that blocked person can send me a message. They can delete my pictures from my Instagram, and then they can put the picture right back where they deleted it, like at that same date and time, instead of like me having to repost it all over again. They want, a part of what I have to do is sign over my image. That's why they want to control my Instagram. Even when this first all happened, if my friends even go back to my messages, I'm telling them, I'm like, hey, he wants to control my Instagram. They're going to talk a lot about manipulation of the Instagram, because they hack into everything, our iClouds, our photos, our pictures. So what I was told is, she's like, we're marketing you, and we want full control of your image. 10% of whatever you're going to make, like I said, they told me I was going to be very famous. 10% of whatever you make, control of your full image. So they can take my pictures and go make different videos, AI videos of me that aren't really me. They also would have been able to control my voice, what I'm allowed to post on YouTube, what I'm allowed to say. If I don't listen, what you guys will actually find out, and maybe a hard thing to grasp right now, but they can actually talk for me. So I was like, hey, y'all gonna have to check my like electricity and EMF, because I'm being powered and they're doing all kinds of stuff to me. But everybody's looking at me like I just sound crazy. When you read this document, you'll find that I'm not. There's actually real stuff. Electronic, or the electronic device, or the non-lethal weapon system, and injuries were often invisible and cannot be seen by the naked eye, because I say they some of us actually, with this light that they can hit us with, it stimulates the pineal gland, so they can make it look very holographic or whatever. But also I'm aware there are people who actually have this like software installed on them, so they actually have like different Austins on their eyes, like that are dormant or actually turned on. It's embarrassing. I'm like, hey, I was like, I got an upgrade. It almost gives you an identity issue, because you're like, you know, but and not almost, it does give you an identity issue. That acutely or chronically damages the internal organs of another person's, dangerously interrupts or impairs biological functioning of the person's brain, heart, human muscular, human cellular damage in a way that causes an acute risk to the person or inflicts severe pain to that person. So when you go to this man's website, what you guys will see are a lot of radiation stations. Some of them are up to $20,000. So basically what he's done, and I'm like, I'm not an engineer, I never bought this stuff or anything like that. I literally just read the synopsis. I never ordered the books. I don't really have the product. I had a couple I had the audios and a couple of medallions, that's it. So they forced all of this stuff on me against my will. But when you put your blood onto one of those radiation stations, what happens is, because they already have the bionic eyes installed on them, they're able to zoom in on your DNA strand. And when they zoom in on your DNA strand on one of their stations or whatever like that, it's actually being emitted. It has EMF, it's chipped, so it's like electronically charged along with a certain hertz. So it's vibrating at a certain way that you can't really see, so the sound beam. And it could be vibrating at anything. One could be to give you cancer. One could be whatever it's going to be, but they're able to manipulate your genome, like just so. They're able to look at your genome and manipulate it in that little computer board, and then like send the beam back at you through this electronic beam, and then like kind of, they can manipulate your cellular division. So once they do that and they see how you got to be adjusted, they can go hit you with a certain frequency that can give you cancer, or possibly even cure it, mimicking a miracle, but it's really not a miracle. It's advanced technology. They can optic fire your hair out. I've had so many punishments. You guys don't even optic firing my hair. They can impersonate. This is a very long document, but I'm just going to go ahead through it. But electronic weapons or electronic device dangerously or deliriously interrupts or impairs the bioelectric functioning of that person's brain. So I talked about that. Any military grade weapon system, lethal and non-lethal, artificial intelligence programs, virtualization systems, augmented reality, RFID, IR sensors, electronic devices, biosensoring. Don't even get me started on the biosensoring. So they can literally make you skinny, make you fat. I'm like, I'm just gonna get my own BCI board and do it myself, because why would I ever go under this? Once you actually figure out all of this modification can be done, you're gonna be like mind blown when I kind of start showing it and breaking it apart. So biosensoring, you'll see if you Google BCI boards, biosensoring can be included in the package that you buy. Mind mapping, so they can map your mind. Also, they can map your neurological system, and that's for mind reading things and finding faster neural pathways and finding out what your thoughts are going to be. Neural technology must have written consent and permission. So what you'll find is through this community, he has it all masked as magic. It's really technology, and he never gave anybody consent. Nobody knew what was being done to them. Everything was done against everybody's will. The person volunteering, so everybody who's a part of Tybro and the Solar Gazer community, the person volunteering will be compensated, and all medical issues that arise shall be paid for. What you will find out is because he's a psychiatrist and a doctor, he's a person of trust. So just by him having that title, he's liable to 50 years in prison, and all of your pain and suffering should be paid for. I would say somewhere probably around $2 million, but I think you guys probably deserve a lot more. Because, like I said, Beyonce is going to lawsuit him. Why would Beyonce lawsuit him? I'm pretty sure she's going to still lawsuit him because everything's going to get out. And, yeah, I'm pretty sure a lot of you guys are going to be paid pretty well, and I'm pretty sure his wife won't be subpoenaed. She told me, she's like, I'll be subpoenaed. I was like, no, you won't. You're going to prison. And your kids are probably going to go to prison if they don't rat on your ass. So, because she's a bigger pedophile than Jeffrey Epstein or whatever his wife's name is. She's literally probably the biggest pedophile you guys have ever seen, and I'll explain that in another video. Misleading his or her law enforcement agency to believe that electronic torture complaint is delusional, paranoid, that what I'm experiencing is a mental illness or psychosis. Dismissing the complaint and detaining the complainant in a psychiatric institution. That can be punishable. If you go through this, I'm not going to read through it all, but law enforcement or officer agent, emergency technician, or doctor who leads or controls, administers an electronic torture and is command of an organized stalking shall be sentenced to no less than 30 years imprisonment, not more than 50. And all of the fines, I'm sure it's, like I said, I think it's going to be more than $2 million. So like I said, if I was to take over this woman's spot, as they're trying to get me to do, if I was to take over this woman's spot and do what she's done, I could lose everything. And in return, even though I get $1 billion and I get all the fame, I literally could be sued and everything be taken from me in an instant. Instead, I was like, they didn't do it the right way. I was like, they did it the back end way, and I'm like, people need to be properly tested. Everything that's being done to you needs to be properly explained to you guys. If I was to even come and shoot one little beam at you, I need to have a written consent from you guys, and I need you guys to know, like, hey, I'm gonna genetically modify you this way. So, and what you will find is some of us are genetically modified, which is fine. I believe I'm very well, maybe I'm not always sure. Like I said, they're electronically doing it to me. I don't have chips. I don't think I have chips or anything. But, and I'd have to tell you, hey, this is gonna happen. A lot of us girls, we have our hair grown out. There's somebody like regulating our hair growth and stuff once we get hooked up to this, and it's her. So part of what she does if we don't listen is she takes out our hair. Like you guys will see, some of my hair was plucked out. The optic fired it. You can't see it right now, but there's like, I'll show the little spot. like my leave out to my weave. She went ahead and like plucked away. I've never lost my hair before. And it's part of our punishment. They're like, okay, well, we'll target her beauty. And I've had a baby, I've had a period my whole life. I've never had any issues until I was hooked up to their BCI program. So what is very funny is that the person who actually was like controlling my hormones and stuff, very embarrassing, but it was actually a man. And I never lost my hair. When I got pregnant, I didn't really get stretch marks. They're able to control your stretch marks, all kinds of stuff. So I just found that to be kind of funny, because what on earth? But anyways, that's why I'm like, oh, I'm aware they want me to say a lot of stuff that's not true. Any law enforcement or federal unit systems, watch lists and alike that are intended to keep persons with psychological disabilities, whether perceived or actual, under law enforcement or federal surveillance, shall be completely abolished. A person who is responsible for establishing a psychological disability practice shall be permanently barred from an employed law. So basically, this is just saying all the way that he can be punished. Like all of his little board certifications and all those things that he's ever been awarded are gone. And I was like, yes, please. And his wife, nobody has exposed his wife. So she's going to be the next person that needs to be exposed. So the special task force, so what you guys will see is in this act that they're actually putting together for people like me. It's very interesting. You guys should read through the document. fMRI scans of the victim's whole body with and without contrast. This will prove any abnormalities to the body done by any non-lethal weapon systems, electronic devices, electronic weapons, and prove locations of the brain is being attacked and white masses is shown. So my brain has literally, I don't know what's going to show. I'm probably going to be getting mine here soon. But if you guys actually Google fMRI scans, what you guys will see is they're actually Faraday cage. So when we're under those machines, they can't really zap us and stuff like that the way that they want to, which is another way that they hide. So when we go to get imaging done, they're like, well, we're not picking up this signal while your machine is actually partly Faraday caged. And also, interesting, the dream stuff. So when I started Googling, and I haven't even done that deep of a search on it, but when I started Googling dream manipulation, and you see Samsung is going to go ahead and like start taking over like dream control and stuff like that, they use similar software of fMRI machines, and I believe it has something to do with pineal gland. I'm not all the way sure, the way the radio signals, I'm not sure. But either way, it's a very interesting connection. We also have to get a full body x-ray. The purpose of a full body x-ray is to determine such factors as implants. Why would the government be scanning people for implants if implants haven't already been detected? And if I told people he's implanted, his teeth, there's up in his teeth, everything, him and his wife, I was like, they can't go to prison like normal people. They have to be Faraday caged. Their whole bodies have to be scanned. Every plant, everything has to be taken out with their jewelry, their Bibles, their little religious praying things. They're all EMF'd. I was looked at as crazy by the police. Also, the implant thing, like I said, I literally was written up over my job about it. They wanted me to take the video down and make it private. They called me, I don't even want to get started. These are deans of schools. These are actual women health providers. Some of them actually work in sex trafficking, and I was totally dismissed. If you go through this, what you're going to find is when all this comes to light or whatever like that, anybody who dismissed me, anybody, especially if you were a doctor, a nurse, or something like that, they're actually going to be liable to lose their license. Full body x-ray, the purpose of full body x-ray, I talked about that. Blood analysis is known. It is known that electric weapons, electronic devices, and non-lethal weapons alter the body, the victim's body, which tests run a victim, or you can run a test and you'll have high lipids, low salt, high cholesterol, possible radiation, poisons, nanotechnology. Simple blood test analysis can be drawn to also tell if the electron count is in the blood, to prove that there's a paramagnetic in the blood cells. With conjunction of the non-lethal weaponry that is being used on the person or an individual, this will help prove that the victim is being tortured through electronic torture. So because they watch us all the time, this is actually a very good theory. It is something that should be done, but what you guys have to realize is you guys have to draw our blood in real time. You have to draw our blood in real time because they can always go in there and start manipulating it a little bit. So it's like, hey, if we feel the electricity, you'd have to draw it like right then and there. Just so you guys know that, because if they electrocuted us at 5 o'clock in the morning and then we go to you guys at like 5 p.m., whatever they did, they could already have like neutralized it with our blood and stuff like that. It's very, very highly sophisticated technology. Just a side note for you guys, add in their RF detectors, so the radio frequency detectors. The special task force will be responsible for going to the victim's home and investigating radio frequencies that are against FCC and EPA levels and regulations. ELF and EMF field, so the electromagnetic field. When I say, I was like, hey, I'm hacked, my electromagnetic field is hacked, there's another radio signal, my electromagnetic field, and I'm underneath different barometric pressure. That's what I went to my psychiatrist and said, and she literally couldn't even handle it. She's like, what are you talking about? Like I said, that ties into something totally different, and I was like, So basically, if you start talking about the vocabulary, medical professionals are very highly educated. I'm not going to take that from anybody, but it doesn't mean that you're very highly educated in every area. As far as like when I want to talk about electronics, sounds, lights, satellites, all of that stuff. I was like, and if you're not open to hearing about what's really out there and the way that these people abuse these tools and stuff like that, then we get labeled crazy. We get labeled all types of stuff. I was like, but as you guys see, it's an actual real thing. It's actually really sad because I know a lot of people have been suffering much longer than I have. A handheld or wireless UHF RFID scanner, reader, writer, scan, UV light, 385 nanometers to 400 nanometers. Why? I'll kind of go into why that is important, but the UV light, I'm not going to get too much into that right now. Night vision scope, like I say, there's different OSINs on our eyes that are activated. I think it's what they're called, is OSINs, but our eye vision is expanded along with our hearing vision. Our hearing, so we're able to hear what most people don't hear above and below your normal auditory hearing. I was aware I'm able to see things that you don't see because they turn on different things in the gene, and it's very interesting. It's so that we can see basically a holographic projection at the end of the day. It's the fourth dimension. I was like, I'm aware it's holographic projection. It can be aimed just at us, and if you break down all of this equipment and stuff like that, basically what you'll end up breaking down is the metaverse. So that's a whole other reason why they didn't want it exposed, but there goes your fourth dimension and your metaverse. And for people who practice magic, there goes like your magic, because it's going to be exposed as technology. Even when it comes to like doing that cool two-finger punch, or how those guys do the dream manipulation, or even levitation. I was like, you'll see with the two fields, you can, I'm not even going to get into it, but I was like, they can do so much dang stuff with this. Handheld metal detector, portable spectrum analyzer, 3G and 6G, H-scalar testing. I don't know anything about scalar waves. I couldn't tell you off of my mouth exactly what they do. What I could do is tell you like, hey, what's the measurements and how do I possibly detect them? Because I'm aware of that. I'm not that smart. 3-in-1 digital dental CT scan. You'll see people like his wife, they have stuff in their teeth. Real-time spectrum analyzer will show signals that are being used on the victim of electronic torture and radio frequencies that are being used for broadcasting through FM and AF bandwidth and radio frequencies. An RF spectrum analyzer, computer technicians, audio surveillance, and subliminal acoustic fingerprinting. Don't even get me started on that. For women, it's actually a very interesting thing to learn about. It has been proven once the audio, video, and phone conversation is stripped, the victim can hear the perpetrators and pick up on the signals that are being used to torture the victim. Because sometimes they don't always use words, they use a sound. This is a assured way to prove the victim is being tortured by electronic weapons, along with audio surveillance. They have to analyze everything. Triangulate signals and positions. Once the audio is confirmed, the special task force can locate the audio system. They need there's so much stuff in here. It's really interesting. It just gives me a lot of confirmation of what I have been experiencing. That my dog actually died, and they do actually use EMP weaponry on the animals. I want to go through all of it. Causing severe, they can cause severe abuse and pain on the animals, pets, and creatures with the weapons. Like I said, my dog mysteriously died. I want to get her dug up and check her electricity and all of that. But the biggest thing that I wanted to talk about, because it's been very hard for me to talk about, is the pedophilia that's done with it. So, and why you guys have seen me lose my mind online. And when I say they're gonna rape my daughter, they're gonna get my daughter, it's actually in this document. A lot of the women, probably even the men, we complain about it. It's very embarrassing to say. Okay, so what you guys, if you recall me having these breaks right at the beginning about 2 years ago, what you'll hear me say is they're pedophiles. They have pictures of my daughter. It's because they do. Like I said, I'm hacked. If you ever taking little pictures of your baby in the bathtub or whatever, you know how moms do, potty training and stuff like that. Basically, the same way that they've hacked my iCloud, they have my Gmail account, my photos and everything like that. They take the nude images, the digital images of your kid, people like him and his wife, and they market them on the black market. That's for another day. But here, let me read this to you. So sexual abuse. So electronic torture groups and perpetrators use electronic devices and non-lethal weaponry and electronic weapons to sexually assault the victims. You hear me talk about the rape a lot. The perpetrators harass the victims in the shower. Oh my gosh, all I ever do is talk about taking a shower. It's rather embarrassing. Like, you can't even shower by yourself. Because I'm like, you get electrocuted, this woman can't, they do, I'm not even going to description, but in the victim's bed, home, vehicle, you hear me say they attack me and electrocute me a lot while I'm driving. So and even at the victim's work, so like I say, she likes to attack us while we're at work, so we can't work and do what we gotta do. The perpetrators point the electronic weapons and non-lethal weapons at the victim's private areas to produce orgasms and unintentional pain. This type of technology demoralizes, humiliates, desecrates, and violates the victim's right. Since this technology leaves no scars and is not seen by the naked eye, it is hard for the victim to prove to the authorities without the proper investigation. This technology can also be used on the victim's children or child. Having knowledge to the victims that the perpetrators are victimizing his or her child, and knowing that the perpetrators will not stop unless the victim kills him or herself. The victim will often take their own life, so the abuse on the child will then stop. Often, people such as Kathy Gibson will not stop after the death of the victim and will continue to